Hi K1 friends. Hopefully you've been thinking about your invention from the last time we talked about what you invent. Maybe some of you have already drawn up plans, kind of like what inventors do, wrote about what you want it to do. So think about it. Does your invention help someone? Is it a toy? Is it something that you think could happen really soon or maybe further in the future? So be thinking about that invention that you thought about last time that we talked, and we're going to keep going. This is one of my favorite books, Rosie, Revere, Engineer, and it's written by Andrea Beaty.
I would say that.
And illustrated by David Roberts. And it's an awesome book. So if you haven't heard it, here it is. If you have, then enjoy again. And be thinking about all the things that she has done to get this far. So here we go. This is a story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lilla Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer's stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. Look at all the different, look at that. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. So she only did it for her family. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head, from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. So she made one for her family, for Uncle Fred. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed, and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. I love it, Fred hooted. Oh, truly I do. But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day, kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rosie, was a true dynamo who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. And she is a true person, actually, if you look her up. Rosie Revere. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile and she looked to the sky. The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dream. So even though she built him, she wanted to fly. That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, no, not I. But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. Have you ever had that at night when you had something in your head and you couldn't sleep because you were thinking about it? I have. And so that's what she was doing. She worked and she worked till a day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out into the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. So she was always thinking it wasn't going to work. I wonder. Ooh, look at that. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hello Cheese copter spurted and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned around to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. Look at her sad face. She turned around to leave, but then great Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed, that is true. But first, it did just what you needed it to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. Young, brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. So even though it didn't stop, just like the Wright brothers and all the other inventors we talked about, they kept going, didn't stop. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. It says, we can do it. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 built gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. So keep trying. Don't give up. Build your inventions. Try it first with toys and then go from there. Tomorrow we are going to look at our timeline. It's all finished with all of the games you brought, your mom's and dad's favorite inventions, and the inventions you wrote about in our inventions journal. So tomorrow we are going to share that, and then we'll do another inventor, and then we'll be done with that unit. So enjoy, keep asking questions and knowing how things work, and we'll see you later. Bye.